really gets a party started? Indoor baseball. Yeah, just find a broom or a pool cue, and you can use like anything as a ball. Cans, bottles, shoes.
Hey bro, toss me that avocado.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb, but if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving, the ultimate party foul. Learn more at ultimatepartyfoul.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, Dad, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partner.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This is a test of the emergency podcast system. Activated by contract termination. Rumors of our demise are greatly exaggerated. Welcome to Stacy on the Right with your host, Stacy Washington. She's blessed to be a Bible-reading, gun-toting, Air Force veteran, wife, and mom. Righteously American.
Okay. Oh, I've had such an interesting day, but I'm alive and I'm here and I'm glad to be with you. And I am super excited because the most racist place in the world has permitted 2 black people to amass enough income to be able to purchase 29 beachfront acres and defy the climate change alarmists. Yes, my friends, I am speaking about the Obamas. Yes, they're the most popular couple in America. Michelle Obama is the most popular woman in America. Obama is the most popular former president in America. They're both black, by the way. Have I mentioned that they're black? And they are actually going to be owners of beachfront property in Martha's Vineyard. Now, don't take my word for it. It's all over the news today. Everybody is just gaga over it. They've forgotten that we're supposed to hate people who can afford to buy 29 acres on Martha's Vineyard. This is a multi-million-dollar estate. And so let me do the regular disclaimer. If you're new, if you're bouncing your way on in here from maybe one of the shows that I was on earlier this week. Yesterday we spent about an hour. It was an hour and some minutes. It was about 5 segments on the Dave Glover show, the DGS think tank. It's a roundtable type discussion. There were 4 of us plus Dave. And we talked about everything, local politics and then national politics. And I got my thing. I was in there. I had my dukes up. Some of my punches were gloves on. Some of them were gloves off. I got into a little bit of classic Stacy cross-examination. Yeah, it was fun. Oh, yeah. I love it when, the best place to test your ideas is in an arena or a forum where there are people there that disagree with you. And I'm always looking for stats and data and stuff. I love a good chart, graph, or link that explains what it is that I'm saying that's wrong. And if you can do that, I will read your link. I will cross-reference. I will compare. I will make sure that I'm right. But I'm going to test you. If you have no links, if you have no information, you're going down. And you're not just going down soft like you know how we all sometimes jump on the bed. I know I do. I'll jump and land on my bed. I can do that. It's my business. I can do whatever I want. But when you come at me with your information and you got no facts or stats or statistics or even anecdotal data, don't come at me with nothing, because if you do, you're going down hard. It's gloves off. It's iron hand inside velvet glove, or maybe there's no velvet glove at all. Maybe it's just brass knuckles and you're going down, baby. You're going down. So it was fun. It was fun to be on the DGS think tank. I think I may go back. I may go back. Okay. So, yeah, so that happened. And what we were talking about, because what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to examine and unpack this fantastic bit of news that the Obamas have amassed enough wealth in America. Heck yeah. They've amassed enough wealth here to be able to just lay down tens of millions of dollars. The list price is like $14.9 or $15.2, something like that. Some outrageous sum of money. I mean, raise your hand with me right now in Listenerville if you don't have or have not ever had $15 million. And I don't begrudge anybody anything. I started to give my disclaimer. Let me go ahead and finish that up. Disclaimer. I have people in my life that I know that are not related to me who have amassed wealth through business, through family inheritance, through combinations thereof. And I love those people and I think they're fantastic and I don't begrudge them a penny. I'm not jealous. I'm not envious. I think it's fantastic. This is America. The proof that they have all of that, it's proof that our system works. I also know people who are in my inner circle who are middle class, working class. I have working class friends. And me and my husband, we aspire to great things. And I think we're doing the best that we can with what God has given to us. But we're not yet, I'll say we're not yet millionaires. Who knows if that's what God has for us, but we're not yet millionaires. So I don't get mad when I see people buying places on Martha's Vineyard. Or if you're here in St. Louis and you buy a $6 or $7 million home, I'm just hoping that you put pictures online so I can take a look. I love to see. Yeah, I love to see I love to see it. I love to see the pictures of the expansive rooms, the library, the upstairs library, the cupola, the tower. The houses like that have these unique rooms, like the chapel. I have a friend who they have a chapel at their house. Yeah. I have another friend who has outbuildings. I think it's so wonderful when I drive up. She'll say, "Come over and have it." So I'll go over there. And as I'm pulling up, I'll just notice it's always a shock to me. There are other buildings on her property, like a ton of other. It's like a village. And so I look at the buildings. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. So I don't have a problem with it. So I went to all that just so y'all will know that what I'm about to say next, I'm only using what Democrats have taught because I've been listening. I'd be lying if I said I hadn't been listening. I've heard what they've said. They've said, first of all, they said that the climate is such that we only have 11 years left, especially for people who are on the coast. So 2012, the movie is reality. It's coming at us in another 11 years because AOC said that almost a year ago. So we have 11 plus years and we will be underwater on the coast and the climate will have killed millions of people and it will be all the fault of Republicans because we refused to transfer wealth from rich people to poor people using climate change as a mechanism to de-wealthify those other people. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. So we know that the Obamas don't believe it because they just dropped all that change on that place they've been renting all summer. And more power to you, Obamas. Go rent the places, 6,900 square feet, 7 bedrooms. I haven't read much more about the stats, but let me tell you what the Free Beacon is reporting because I love some good reporting. Let's get it. They're in escrow for a 29-acre beachfront estate listed at $14 million and $850,000. $14,850,000. Large. Now, apparently they came in for less than that, which is great. So the guy who owns it, his name is Wick Grusbeck. He's the owner of the Bolton Celtics. So somebody else who should have all of his wealth stripped away and given to illegal aliens. I mean, I don't know what he's doing with that money, but anyway, I'm sure he's going to take whatever he nets in proceeds over and above any outstanding liens. He's going to take that money and give it straight away to illegals. I know he's going to do it, y'all. He's not going to keep that money for himself. Okay. So it says that he gave them $2,300 via Obama for America back in 2008. So they're friends, they're tight, they're down like that. And over the summer, they were renting the place from him because they had to get away from their 8,000 square foot mansion in DC. They needed some time in the water among their friends. So they were just hanging all summer And they made a lower offer, less than list, which is pretty normal for properties of this magnitude. It's normal for all properties. And apparently he's accepted, and they're in escrow. So they're going to buy this place. They're going to be living there, okay? And for those who don't believe that America is awesome, those black folks are moving to Martha's Vineyard. Now, I know they're not the first people to move there, but they might be the first black folks to own 29 acres on Martha's Vineyard. Now, that's America right there. Let me go back to just spouting leftist ideology. That broke out of me. I don't know what happened just then. I was actually supposed to be reading you about the incredible 29 beachfront acres, but then America just broke out of me spontaneously, and I started singing the praises of a nation where anybody, regardless of color, can amass enough wealth to buy 29 acres on Martha's Vineyard. And I'm sorry, I was supposed to be spouting leftist dribble, so I'll get back to it. The estate is incredible. 29 beachfront acres. The main residence is just shy of 6,900 square feet. It has 7 bedrooms, so Sasha and Malia will have a place to crash, along with several of their friends. It has an obligatory pool, an outdoor fireplace, a chef's kitchen, vaulted ceilings, and 2 guest wings. It has incredible views. Again, I say incredible, especially while soaking in the second floor balcony jacuzzi. The estate was listed by well-known realtors Tom LeClaire and Garrett Conover. It's currently in escrow, but sources have told the left-wing rag of choice, TMZ, that the deal is going great so far. The Obamas, who are estimated to be worth a whopping 40 to 135 million US dollars, have vacationed at Martha's Vineyard for several summers, so they're not newcomers anymore. The vacation home they stayed in their first summer in Martha's Vineyard with Obama as president sold last year for the paltry sum of 15 million US dollars. You gotta love America and the capitalism. I'm sorry, it's breaking out again. During a speech in South Africa last year, Obama was critical of wealth inequality and seemed to disparage owners of large estates. He said, "Right now, I'm actually surprised by how much money I got. There's only so much you can eat. There's only so big a house you can have. There's only so many nice trips you can take. I mean, it's enough." The Martha's Vineyard house, though more expensive, is smaller than the Obama's current $8.1 million, 8,200 square foot home in Washington, D.C. So I'm wondering how many illegal aliens and refugees from foreign lands that practice Islam the Obamas will be housing in their new palatial 29-acre beachfront manse. It seems possible to me that they could fit about 50 illegal aliens, because 7 bedrooms, subtract 1 off because they need one for themselves, because it would just not be right for them to buy the place and not live there. So the Obamas, the couple, they would live in the master bedroom suite, probably the upstairs one with the jacuzzi on the balcony. And then the other bedrooms could be parsed out, 1 bedroom per illegal alien household. And so if you just guesstimate that those families have about 7 people each, and you put 6 of them in there, perhaps 7, I'm sure there's a full finished basement, then that gives you the opportunity to house around 50 people. And that would be the appropriate sacrifice for someone as he's philanthropic, he's generous, he's a man of the people. He and Michelle Obama don't just love the people from afar, waving from a balcony someplace on high. No, no, no. They rub elbows with those lower among us, those who just seek to come here with, love. They're entering the country illegally out of love. They're coming here because they want to take a part of this racist, minority-hating, anti-Semitic, awful, black-hating, lynching, awful country. I'm sorry. That was the leftist again. Let me go back to my happy real estate voice and just say that this doesn't make any sense. I mean, come on. How can this make sense to anyone? How is it that Bernie Sanders is not someplace yelling into a microphone, looking very angry with his hair looking really Einsteinish? And how's he not yelling about the Obamas daring to buy a property of this size? Guys, this is their 4th house. The Obamas own a house in Hawaii. They own a house in Chicago. They own a house in D.C. And now this is their 4th house. They own a home on Martha's Vineyard. Just a couple more days, whenever that escrow hits and those bank wire transfers start flying at the speed of light, those 2 black people are going to own 4 mansions in America. 4. And I bet you it won't be 90 days before he's fixing his mouth to say that Donald Trump, who admittedly owns probably, 10 times that many houses. I've lost track of how many houses Donald Trump owns, but they're going to be calling him a racist because America is such a racist place, because nobody can make it in America because Donald Trump's president. He's holding everybody down while they're on their 4th, not their 2nd house, their 3rd house. Bernie Sanders is just on 2, but their 4th house. So instead of them getting their minds right and getting out there and telling Americans of every color, but specifically those who they have a constituency within the black community. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to lie to you. Being an American is pretty awesome. Not only was I the president of the United States for 2 terms, but now I own 4 homes. How can you do that? Start speaking proper English. Pull your pants up. If you're a woman, don't have any kids before you get married. And how about you get them books like I did? Well, we don't know much about how he got the books. I mean, he might have got them half butted. He might have got them full on. He might have been above and beyond. He might have been excellent. He might have been mediocre, but he got those books. He got the degrees to enable him to do the things he wanted to do. He was a power seeker. He went for the power and he got it. And all I got to say is go ahead on, black man. I'm sorry, I'm not supposed to acknowledge that he's black because I'm some kind of racist myself, because I think America rocks. It rocks his socks off. 4 houses. A couple of the houses bigger than, the median square footage for a home in America is somewhere between 15 and 2,000 square feet. They got enough home to house 3 or 4 families, 2 or 3 families comfortably, 3 or 4 families in a pinch, 5 or 10 illegal alien families because they're not used to anything. But this country just sucks, right? And climate change, by the way. You about to die. But meanwhile, the Obamas got 29 acres. We'll be right back.
Okay, kids, Dad's gonna teach you how to dance. First, spread your feet apart. Then, pump your knee, nod your head, shake your hips, and bite your lip ever so slightly. Now, with one hand in the air, point at people with the other hand. I call that the rock star.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
Now, make a face like it just smells something bad.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Is that a faucet running? That's not a faucet. That's a river rushing through the forest. Forest rivers provide over 100 million people with clean water to drink.
What? I can't hear you because of the vacuum.
That's not a vacuum. That's the trees in the forest cleaning up the air we breathe.
I didn't know the trees were so amazing.
Yep, and the forest gives us shade, trees to climb.
That's awesome. Let's go explore some more.
Visit the forest today and enjoy all it does, just for you. To learn more about the forest and find one near you, go to discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Jill, why don't you tell the class what you did this weekend?
Well, my dad and I went in search of some magical minnows and found a zillion of them in the stream from our lookout rock. Then my sister and I escaped from an evil slug king and went back to my super twig fort for safety. Then we told stories till it got dark, and the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Where were you, Jill?
We went to the forest. It's not that far away.
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
What if I could tell you that a full-blown wildfire was going to occur tomorrow, right where you live? Tell you exactly which neighborhoods it would engulf and how fast it would do it. The first thing you would do is talk with your loved ones and make a plan today. It's true, I can't tell you a wildfire will strike tomorrow, but shouldn't you make a plan anyway? Go to ready.gov/communicate and make your emergency plan today. Don't wait, communicate. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Good morning, Uglyville!
Every ugly doll is unique.
I'm Moxie.
Bobo.
Wade.
Those close to me call me Slick Dog.
Which is not his name.
And every child is too.
They can be pretty lovable.
That's why when you travel, you should make sure your child is in the right seat for their age and size.
That sounds pretty great to me.
Keep them safe by visiting nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Isn't that right, gibberish cat?
Brought to you by the the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Dog Show. Up next, we have Satchmo. Satchmo is a member of the Shelter Pet Group.
That's right, a group known especially for their couch-snuggling, ball-chasing, face-licking, and, of course, companionship. Now, let's see him in action.
Look how he makes eye contact with his person.
That's actually known as the treat stare.
How intuitive, and now he appears to be excitedly turning in circles.
Ah, the happy dance so common with this group.
But really, the best way to know an amazing shelter pet like Satchmo is to meet one.
Visit theshelterpetproject.org today. Adopt.
Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Stacy on the Right.
Oh my goodness, you guys. I need to issue a Stacy on the Right show correction. Now, this doesn't happen often, but you guys know if I say something that is not accurate on the show and I realize it, I always issue a Stacy on the Right show correction. I should have some kind of special intro music for it, or an intro, somebody voicing over Stacy on the Right issues a correction, and then explosions and guns going off and stuff like that. Not because I don't like doing it, but because this correction is kind of fun. So let's get into it. The Obamas actually own more than 4 homes. So I know you guys are so happy for them. I know I am. I'm just over here, woohoo. If I had my little, I used to have these little, they're like cheerleading things. They were in blue and white for my kids' basketball team. The colors were blue and white. And I was the one in the stands waving those things around. And it was contagious. Other parents did it too. We had a good time with those. I don't know what I did with them. I'll have to check my little bag that I keep stuff in my trunk, and I take it out of this little bag. So you're probably wondering, which of those houses did I get wrong? Well, I won't tell you. Okay, so first of all, it's true they own the house in Chicago. Let's start there. They own the house in Chicago. And then you guys remember they bought the house in Hawaii. Now, let's first talk about that. Do you remember, or have you ever heard of, if you're a youngin', the 1980s television series Magnum P.I.? Well, Magnum P.I. was shot on a property that is now valued at $8.7 million. So that property is the one that they bought in Hawaii. So it's big. You know how I was talking about outbuildings? It has the appropriate accoutrement for a couple as popular as the Obamas. So they bought that. And then here's the house I missed. I didn't even see this story when it came out, but apparently while he was still president, so the house in Chicago, the house in Hawaii, which is an $8.7 million property. When a realtor says, I want to show you this property, sometimes they mean a suburban house on a third of an acre with about, 3,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths. But sometimes they'll say it's an estate property, and that means outbuildings, y'all. And I don't just mean sheds, okay? I mean buildings with electricity and heating and water. Okay, so $8.7 million for the Magnum P.I. house in Hawaii. So Chicago, Hawaii, and then the $5.3 million 8.5 bath home in D.C., 8 bedrooms, 8.5 bathrooms. Now, so that's how many is that, right? So Chicago, let's count on our fingers. Chicago, Hawaii, Washington, D.C. And then here's what I missed. There's one in Rancho Mirage, California, a community known for its world-class golf courses, which is going to come in handy after he's the president. So this article is written while he was president, and somehow I missed them buying this place. So it is, let me tell you what it is. There's a butler's pantry. Oh no, that's a different house. That's the Sidwell house, the Sidwell Friends house that's near the girls' school. Okay, the news comes to you. So it's they were in escrow to buy this $4.25 million home in Rancho Mirage, California. And so that is house number 4. So $4.2 million house in Rancho Mirage, California. Now, admittedly, a $4 million house in California, I mean, it could just be like 4,000 or 5,000 square feet. It doesn't have to have a ton of acres. In California, multi-million dollar homes are a dime a dozen because their cost of living is ridiculously high because they refuse to build any new housing stock. They have a moratorium on using any more of their land because the environmentalists have gotten all up into the control factors. So that's house number 4. And then the house on Martha's Vineyard would be house number 5. So I got to readjust all of my criticisms to include 5 homes located in the greatest nation on earth, the United States of America. Are you not excited? If you are not excited yet, what is going on with you? It's Friday. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. You're alive. I'm on the radio. What more could you want? Oh, yeah. You want the Obamas to own 5 homes in America. Well, boom. There it is. You now are the recipient of your wish. It's just so beautiful. Hawaii, Chicago, Rancho Mirage, California, Washington, D.C., in Calorama, no less. A very, very exclusive neighborhood. And then, of course, Martha's Vineyard. Now, I've been all over the world. I've been to Russia, back when it was the USSR. I've been to Saudi Arabia, the Netherlands, Paris 4 times, Spain 4 times. Grew up in Germany. I've been to England. But I've never been to Martha's Vineyard. Should I feel disadvantaged because I'm black, or does that not count? I don't get to play the race card because, conservative. But there has to be some man someplace, some patriarch that I can blame for the fact that I've never been to Martha's Vineyard. I got to put it on my list. So they have the 5 houses. Now, again, I don't begrudge them anything. Apparently they have the cash to pull all these transactions off, and so good for them. But the reason I found out is because I typed in how many homes do the Obamas own in 2019, and a bunch of different things came up. A lot of the stories on here are actually about the Calorama house. That's the one in DC. But there are also pictures of his Chicago house on Zillow. There are pictures of the Washington, D.C. home. And then there's an article from 2015 about the Obamas purchasing a mansion in Hawaii. And, let me see if this one has pictures. I'll put the links to these. The link to the Free Beacon story is at listen.stacyontheright.com. Oh, yeah, there's photos. Recently purchased a Honolulu estate from the classic 80s TV series Magnum P.I. And there's a couple of pics. They didn't do it justice. You don't just, it's called the Anderson estate. They gave an aerial pic and a pic of a back patio. It's Spanish style. You all know I love a Spanish style home. So anyway, that's what they have according to my just cursory look online. And that's a lot of houses. And that's a lot of houses for them to leave empty all year round, unless they have staff living in each one. So they're stimulating the economy if they're doing that. But what I want to know is, why do the Obamas keep buying houses for themselves? Why aren't they redistributing all of the wealth that's been forced on them by the American people? Why aren't they taking that money and giving it to the refugees? And how do they continue to amass property when we're all going to die in 10 years because of the climate change? It's puzzling, isn't it? I don't know what we're going to do about it, but there it is. So now I want to go to Good News Friday. President Trump actually canceled student loan debt for 100% disabled American veterans, military veterans. And so if you have a 100% disability rating from the Veterans Affairs Office, you can actually have your student loan debt canceled. Now, first off, let me say before anybody fixes their mouth to try to act like this is wrong, shut up, okay? If we're going to give handouts to people who are able-bodied and sitting on their butts playing Xbox all day, and they're collecting checks and they're paying for their rent with those checks, they're paying for their food, and they're sitting at home not working, they're able-bodied as all get out and they don't work, then we certainly can take some of our fraud, waste, and abuse money, some of the money that the president has saved on a ton of initiatives that he's launched since he's been the president, and just simply say, 25,000 plus eligible veterans holding roughly $30,000 worth of student loan debt, which is nothing on the Federal Register's, accounting principles for how much we owe. We're spending more than 30,000 a second in this country. He's wiping it out. No federal tax will be levied against the forgiven debts, and the president is pushing each state to waive state taxes on the benefit as well. So in other words, if you went over there and you gave up a piece of yourself, your body, your mind, whatever you gave to this country, and you have student loan debts that you're trying to struggle and cobble together a way to pay because you're 100% disabled, you no longer have to worry about that bill. Thanks to Donald Trump. Good News Friday. I'm loving it, and that's awesome. How about a little bit of applause for the president? It sounds like that's a small group of people. We may need some stadium applause sounds, but you get where I'm coming from, right? So this is important because it's just the right thing to do. And he's coming up with these ideas and doing it even while he's being attacked for being such a huge racist. Wouldn't he, if he was a racist, have found a way to exclude the black disabled veterans? Because, our armed forces are actually overrepresented in the number of black people who serve. 40% of our armed services are black. Oh, what? You didn't know that? Yeah, 40% of our armed services are manned by people with the permanent tan. So that means those people are going to be overrepresented in this group of individuals who are going to get this. So you know what I'm saying? Thank you, Donald Trump. When he does something good, how about if we just say, that's awesome. Good job. So that's Good News Friday. I thought that was so cool. I'm like, a little bit of something for us to kind of chew on as we absorb all of the other news, some of which is bad. Like the fact that Democrats are now following Bill Maher's suggestion and trying to talk our nation into a recession because that's the only way they can win the presidency back. Instead of just acknowledging that President Trump has helped the economy. He's not a one-man miracle worker. He's not responsible for every bit of the economy. No one person is, but he has made strides. That tax cut, the business tax cut that everybody on Twitter is wailing about and the leftists are so mad at. If you say, like I've tweeted out, well, we experienced some of the tax cut. Well, how much did you get? I'm like, I'm telling you my personal business on Twitter. Well, then you can't explain. I'm like, you know what? Don't you don't even understand what you're talking about. And you probably didn't get any tax cut because you don't pay any tax. You're a taker. They shut up then, if you go there. So the president has canceled the student loan debt. He's presided over an amazing run with the economy. And now they want to tear it down by basically saying, look, we don't need any of that. We don't need that. We want recession. That's what we want. So now let's get over to the awful, horrible. Well, they were actually nice to me once, but New York Times. New York Times is actually hiding money that they're using to smear Donald Trump's policies as anti-immigrant. They've been hiding the huge impact that immigration has had on Americans' wages in an attempt to portray the president as anti-immigrant. So they have this piece out, and it's about, they want to frame any discussion around immigration as a racial conflict instead of law breaking, right? So the article's subheadline claims the nation's immigration policy is now driven by hostility towards individual immigrants, not the widespread public opposition to the painful economic distortions caused by government support of mass migration. Now, they also take the time to smear Stephen Miller as being anti-immigrant. And I just want to state this again for the record in case anybody here hasn't heard me say, I don't care if Stephen Miller is anti-immigrant. Our laws are constructed such that no one person who's a racist or anti-immigrant can materially impact how many people come into this country, because the numbers of people who are allowed to immigrate into the country lawfully are set by Congress. So unless every member of Congress, all 437 of them, I think there are racist, there's no way to impact the policy if you're a racist. So the laws don't permit it. The laws don't allow you to exclude people simply based on their ethnic background. You can't say people can't immigrate into this country if they're black, or if they hail from countries where the majority of the people are black, or if they can't immigrate if they come from a place that's majority Islam. Our laws already preclude every bit of what the people at the New York Times and everywhere else are accusing the president of doing. Also, the framers of our Constitution, the founders, made it so that no one racial individual, even if that racist is the president, he would have to also have a racist Congress and a racist executive, legislative, judicial. He'd have to also have a racist Supreme Court to go along with it. Now, look, make no mistake about it. We've had that. We've had racist presidents, and we've also had racist congressional members, and we've had a majority racist Supreme Court. That's how we've had many different things that before we had desegregation, the court was ruling that people weren't actually people, they were property. I mean, that's a part of the Supreme Court's history. But since then, it has become nigh impossible to take those same actions. And that is because the laws have been changed and the people have changed. So to smear Stephen Miller as a racist is simply hey, squirrel, look over here. That's what that is. It's a distraction, a deflection tactic used to keep you from actually acknowledging or learning about, if you don't know about it, the downward pressure on wages that comes along with mass illegal immigration. So in the article, way down, the author does admit that there's greater downward pressure on wages. He mentions other forces, quote fingers, which is his way of hiding the indirect economic effect of mass migration, such as companies' ability to break unions by hiring refugees and illegal aliens for jobs in meatpacking, construction, and restaurants. So for a party that's supposedly all about the union, and we have in our area here in St. Louis, we have heavily Republican areas where people are Republicans, but they're also union members. And so they will force their representatives who are Republicans to act in ways that go against the party platform of right to work and freedom, worker freedom and all of that, because they want to protect their unions. So union workers will work hard to protect their unions, but if you're voting for a Democrat, then you're actually voting to eliminate all of the strides that you've made with your union. So let's get into some data and statistics here. There's a summary by the National Academies on all of this, the National Academy of Science. And this was from 2017. And they note in their summary that immigration's overall effect on wages was very small, but added that some studies have found sizable negative short-run impacts for high school dropouts who account for about 8% of the workforce. Even among dropouts, some economists find the effects modest or non-existent. So that's what they said at first. But then they go on to say, immigrant labor. First, on page 171 of the September 2016 report, the Academy's experts agreed to a formula which shows that immigration imposes a 5.2% income tax on Americans. Now, immigrant labor accounts for a 16.5% total of the total number of hours worked in the United States, which implies that the current stock of immigrants lowered American wages by 5.2%. So when they say we can't get wage growth, they're really talking about their open borders policy, not the fact that the economy can't boom under Trump. We'll be right back.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show him you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Steven.
Who said that?
Me, down here.
Ugh, what are you, a yellow booger?
I'm a banana slug, Steven.
What are you doing in my room?
I'm your sense of adventure. It's been a long time since we've had an adventure in the forest.
Mom took me to the forest last year.
I'm a slug, Steven. It took me a long time to get here.
You're right. I should get out.
Yeah, the forest is not that far away.
Hey, Mom!
Come to the forest where the more adventurous you lives. Check out discovertheforest.org for cool places nearby. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Man, do I love card night. You ready, boys? You got a king?
Go fish, Dad.
Oh, come on. This is WWE superstar Titus O'Neil. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, Kevin, thinking about saving for retirement?
Yeah, but how do I start?
It's easy with Avo, a retirement coach. Let's learn the Avo bets. A is for taking action.
Not anxiety?
No, Kevin, you're gonna be fine.
You sing?
Barely. V is for variety.
Huh, change up my strategy. Okay.
O
tools for optimize your savings.
Let Avo lead the way.
Visit aceyourretirement.org today. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. And I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Stacy on the Right.
Hey everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Happy Friday to you. Super glad to be just chilling out on a Friday afternoon, sharing news and information. So I want to go over to the chat room for just a quick second. And we have Tracy and Chi and Smoke and Dub. We have so all the regulars and a few extras. Hey everybody, thanks so much for being there. Yeah, talking about a booming economy. Tracy says Chattanooga, Tennessee is throwing up apartments and condos on every corner. She's not sure where all these people are coming from. Also sharing the applause of, hey, the president's doing a great job. And then also news story about Justice Ginsburg being treated for a new cancer found on her pancreas. Wow. She has some staying power. Wow. All right. So obviously, I always wish her the best. I disagree with her ideologically, and I think her Supreme Court rulings have been just a massive pile of waste, but I don't wish any ill on her. She has a lot of longevity, which means she's done something right. So let's finish up this bit over at, and this link is also in the show notes, listen.stacyontheright.com. And so we're talking about immigrant work, illegal alien work. So not immigrants, not lawful immigrants, illegal alien people working here and being paid under the table depresses American wages by 5.2%. The NAS panel declined to state the dollar value of the 5.2% immigration tax, but panel member George Borjas, a Harvard economist, calculated the value of that tax at $500 billion a year. Now, what I would say is you just take, if you want to know, if you're working in one of these industries, meat packing, construction, and restaurants, and you want to know what it means to you, what's your gross salary for the year? Subtract 5.2%, and that is what illegal aliens are robbing you from, because you're making less than you would if they weren't here. If they weren't here, your employer would have to pay you more, but since they have them to rely on, they can pay all of you less, but even less to them. That's why the raises aren't coming in. It basically, they've just now accounted for why economists say, oh, you're not going to have the kind of wage growth under President Trump that you're expecting. And then of course, when he busted through those expectations, I hear nothing but crickets from those economists. Where are you guys? Where are y'all at behind that proposition? I know. So 5.2%. So anybody who makes any amount of money, whether you work in one of these industries or not, just imagine realizing that you're making 5.2% less than you should be making on a yearly basis, and then multiply that out, because every year that you're behind 5.2%, the amount that you're making that's less than what it should be increases over time, because you're getting maybe a cost. Maybe your boss says, look, we don't have the money in the company. The profitability is not there. We're expanding. So we're not going to give you a raise on merit, but we will give you a cost of living increase. It's 2.5% of your salary. Well, they're giving you a raise on 2.5% of the salary that you're currently earning instead of your salary plus 5.2%. So over time, if you get, even if they say we're giving you 2.5% or 3% for cost of living, we're giving you another 1.9% for your merit. You know, you got a 4 out of 5 on your evaluation. You're killing it. You know, we're going to give you another 1.9%. So they tally all of that up. Well, that percent is based on what you're making, not what you should be making if there were no illegal aliens around. See how that works? It's awful. So, the NAS report also showed 18 studies which describe the wage losses caused by the government's policy of importing labor. And this is where the beautiful chart comes in. It's table 5-2 and the economic and fiscal consequences of immigration, page 242. The effect of on native wages of inflow of immigrants that increase labor supply by 1%. So, okay, they have a number of studies that they call spatial studies that were done in 1991, 2016, 2015, 2008, 2001, and 2015. Each of these studies had a different group that they were targeting for examination. Dropouts, non-Cuban, men, women, dropouts Hispanic with poor English, Hispanic, including immigrants with high school education, dropouts of non-Hispanic men, dropouts of non-Hispanic men. That was 2 separate studies that were on that one. And then dropouts of black men. And then they compared those to just straight up dropouts. Now, if you think about that economists are able to break all of the different workers into these categories and study the behaviors that they're working in America, that behavior, the impact it has on labor and wages for other people, then you know that the Democrats are completely aware of what they're doing at the southern border and they know this information. They just don't care. So if you're in one of those industries, they don't care that you're making less money, that 5.2% could be the amount that pays for your kid to go to the better school that's in your neighborhood, but it's private or it's parochial, it's independent. Or that 5.2% over 3 years could be the amount that's your difference. It's the difference between you having enough money for a down payment to move into a better neighborhood or staying where you are. Or maybe that 5.2% is the amount you're struggling with, your paycheck to paycheck, and you're constantly borrowing money. And these little hand-to-hand pocket loans are what is keeping your quality of life down in the dumps. Maybe the 5.2% is just enough to do ... because it's nobody's business what you need that money for. That's the biggest thing. If we're going to take anything out of this, it's that you don't have to have a good reason that you should have that 5.2%. You're an American citizen. You're working. You're not on the dole. And no illegal alien has the right to depress your wages. So do I hate illegal aliens? Of course not. I don't hate anybody. But I hate knowing that Americans who are working, this is hard labor. Working in chicken processing plants, meat packing plants, it's hard labor. It's the kind of labor that you go home bone tired from. You clean up after work, not before. And you deserve to be paid well for that. We like eating chicken. We like having it processed and FDA approved and, clean, and we get to cook it and go on about our business. Why shouldn't you be paid well for that? Same thing with the construction workers who put our houses together. I find it mind-boggling that restaurant workers who are already, some people who work at restaurants make a killing. They're cute, they have a great customer service attitude, and they get that $250 an hour and they pull in, $300 a night in tips and they just kill it. And other people struggle. Sometimes businesses acknowledge that by saying all tips are pooled and divided between the people who work that night because everybody's carrying plates and picking up cups and glasses and saying, what else can I get for you? Would you like a refill? They do that. But even then, if you're getting 5.2% less because the people who are tipping you have less money to tip you because their wages are depressed by illegal immigration, it's wrong. You don't have to have a good reason or I was going to plan to do X with the money. You could have planned to just take the money and put it in the bank and do nothing with it. It's your money that you're owed. Why does someone else have the right to it? And that's the point of this story. You can share the story. If people have TDS, they'll see that it's posted on Breitbart. But these stats and statistics, these charts and these graphs are coming straight from the National Academy of Sciences, which is a government institution, which means Democrats should be just simply drinking from this trough of information without even asking if it's been sanitized or anything else. They should just take it in because it's from the government and they love the government. So it's kind of unbelievable. That kind of negates my Good News Friday a little bit. Sorry. So here's some good news. You know how Bernie Sanders came out with his $13 trillion plan earlier this week, which I took a cursory look and was like, what is wrong with this man? And how does he keep getting elected? Anyway, over at the Heritage Foundation, because this is what they do, this is who they are, don't you love it? They have a piece up It's by David Burton. He's a senior fellow in economic policy, focusing on tax matters, securities law, entrepreneurship, financial privacy, and regulatory and administrative law issues. And he has entitled his piece, "It is arithmetically impossible to fund the progressive agenda by taxing the rich." I'm sorry, I mispronounced it. It is arithmetically, I'm butchering this, impossible to pay for progressive promises by taxing the rich. He says the promises are too expensive. The amount of income earned by the rich is too small. Even using lower cost estimates, confiscating every dollar earned by every taxpayer with incomes of $200,000 or more would only pay for about half of the progressive agenda. And that figure is based on the false assumption that people would continue to work, save, and invest when subjected to a 100% flat tax. The reality is that progressive promises can only be funded by increasing taxes on the middle class from 3 to 10 times of their current level, or for a limited time by dramatic and unsustainable increases in federal borrowing. Here are the takeaways. Confiscating every dollar earned by taxpayers with incomes over $200,000 would not come close to paying. Progressive policies would require either increasing middle class taxes to 3 to 10 times existing levels or radically higher unsustainable federal borrowing. And progressive promises would increase federal taxes and spending to levels higher than other advanced countries and have a dramatic adverse impact on the economy. Again, with the charts and graphs, which I love, and the link is in the story, but I want to give you the cost of these progressive promises. The new American progressive or socialist agenda would require nearly doubling the federal expenditures. More expansive proposals could increase federal spending by 161%. The CBO 10-year federal spending baseline projection is $57 trillion, approximately $12.4 trillion, or 22% of which would be financed by more debt. Progressive proposals for single-payer health insurance would increase federal spending by $32 trillion to $33 trillion over 10 years, a 58% increase in federal spending. The Green New Deal, jobs guarantees, or a universal basic income, free college education, and other proposed programs would cost many trillions more. In the aggregate, to implement the programs that progressives or socialists have promised would cost approximately $48 trillion to $92 trillion. This would amount to an increase in federal expenditures of between 84 and 161%. The estimates vary in part because the nature, expansiveness, and expense of the programs vary by proposal, and in part because different estimators employ different methodologies. Now, I could go on, but your head may be throbbing a little bit from all those numbers I just spat out at you. Suffice it to say, it can't be paid for. There's no way that the richest people in America, the top 10%, not the top 1, the top 10%, would sit back and allow 100% of their wealth that is accumulated to include their current incomes to be confiscated by the U.S. government. They would leave this country. In fact, if you really think about why there are so many accounts in the Cayman Islands and why people bank in Switzerland, it's because they know that these kinds of ideas could possibly be implemented. And so as a hedge of safety, they put their money offshore. Not all of it. They just put some offshore, enough to make sure that they're set for life. And they also have passports for foreign countries. They hold dual citizenship. So if they need to, they can get on a private plane and hot-foot it out of here with their money and their wealth intact. Yeah, they might leave behind 5 homes like the Obamas, but they can get 5 more homes elsewhere because homes around the world are cheaper than they are here. So they could buy a whole island for what the Obamas just paid for that place in Martha's Vineyard. So it's so unfeasible that it really defies the imagination. And I feel a sense of, like, it's sad to me that people at the Heritage Foundation, these brilliant people, had to waste their time tallying up these numbers, knowing that Bernie Sanders can't balance a checkbook on a budget of $50,000, let alone $33 trillion. But he's never met a 161% increase he didn't like, so, because he doesn't understand the numbers. And hopefully he'll never be the president. All right. God bless you. From the Heartland, Righteously American, I'm Stacy Washington, and it has been such a great pleasure to be with you. I want to just tell you, if you're listening and you're wondering which chat room I'm talking about, the chat room of choice is over at stacyontheright.com. That's where you can also watch the show. We usually have the best live stream there, the least latency. And then also we're on Periscope, we're on Facebook, and we are on YouTube. So God bless you guys. Have a fantastic evening.